Flying high above the metropolis, it's The Roth Guy with holistic wealth advisor Jude Wilson. All right, Jude, this week on the podcast, we're going to talk about some Social Security potential shakeup. Since this is the kind of the year-end conversations we've been having, I want to tell folks ahead of time, this is not happening yet. This is simply something that has been talked about, which I'm even surprised it got brought up. So kudos to this congressman who actually even brought this up. We're going to get into it here in just a second, but we want to talk about the potential impacts if bumping Social Security full retirement age back from 67 to 69 actually happens, or even 70. Could be very interesting. How you doing this week?
Man, I'm doing awesome. Got the energy, ready to rock.
Good. Well, so I want to get your take on this as a planner, right? Someone who does this, because obviously Social Security is a big chunk of many people's retirement strategy. And this is something we really have to talk about, right? So this congressman, let's kind of set the table for everybody a little bit. This congressman, Brendan Boyle, asked the CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, about, 6 or 9 months ago, something like that. They started talking about that. And again, this is not in place. What the effects might be if we move full retirement age from currently 67 to 69. We'll stop right there. What's your thoughts?
Well, let's pull it back a little bit. Some people may be wondering, why are we talking about Social Security on the Roth Guy? Well, just to refresh everybody's memory, the Roth Guy isn't just about Roth. It's about tax efficient, holistic planning. Right. And I can't think of a bigger topic to talk about than Social Security, because we're all paying into it, and we hope to get a return from what we're paying into. Right. So when we look at it, and when I'm talking to clients, it's usually two different attitudes about Social Security. People who are retired or already and are receiving Social Security, or people who are just about retired. Most of them feel pretty good about their Social Security. They feel a little bit of angst because they hear things like Social Security is running out, but they feel like, okay, I'm getting this, or I'm about to get it. I'm going to be okay. And then there's people who are not retired yet, have got a lot of runway before they get there. And the reason why I bring those two groups up is that if you're the type of person that's got some runway, well, this could be significant to you, because moving that full retirement age from where it is now to potentially much higher, 69 or 70, is going to affect you in a couple of ways. Number one, those dollars that you were expecting for income, well, at full retirement age, that's when you receive the full benefit. If you retire before that, you receive a discounted benefit. So that can definitely affect your planning for how much income do you believe in total that you're going to receive in retirement. That usually Social Security is like the foundation, because that's guaranteed income. Yeah. It
could be a linchpin
that
for
out.
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Moving that out would definitely affect your planning. And then the other thing, the other way that it affects you is that if you look at your Social Security statement, on the first page, it says the Social Security Trust Fund may be depleted by around 2033, 2034. Yeah. What does that mean for everyday people like you and me? Well, if nothing is done, then at this current rate, benefits would have to be cut back. So those are the 75%,
I think, is what they're kind of saying. And a couple months ago, we did a conversation with former Comptroller General David Walker. He was part of the team that helped kind of deal with this back in the 90s, right? There was an issue then as well, right? So and we know it's a problem, right? It's continuing to be a problem. We've talked about it before on our show prior to going to video version. More and more people less and less people are paying in, versus what's taking out. There's all these things going on. There's a million reasons why, but basically this congressman said, hey, look, let's take a look at seeing the effects of what might happen. So let's look at a couple of things that kind of stand out, to me in this conversation. So full retirement age, FRA, currently 67, 66 and some change, right? Depending on when you're born. They don't talk about the early. They don't talk about the max at 70. They just talk about the FRA age, right? So let's just kind of operate from the assumption that 62 stays as the early. By moving this back 2 years, that could potentially be, it gives you, I guess, from a planning standpoint, it gives you more time to work on some things, right? But you're talking about when you take it early, you talked early about a reduction in benefits. It's what, a 30% haircut if you take it early,
Yeah, just about.
right? So the numbers on this would be 40%. So think about that just for a minute, just from that standpoint, Jude. If they move it to 69 and you're thinking, hey, I've got to retire early or for whatever reason,
Right.
or I want to get mine before it runs out or whatever, you're talking about a 40% reduction. That could be painful.
Yeah, and most people now, you probably read some financial magazine that says when you retire, you're not going to need your full pre-retirement income. You could probably live on somewhere between 80% of what you're making. Let me tell you, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. There's nobody that I know that's living on
Right.
80% of their full retirement income. So imagine if Social Security is part of your base and that's cut back
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah.
And so it really needs some proactive planning now, even if your runway is much longer. Most of the people I know that I'm working with that have a long runway, and by long, I mean 10 years or more.
Okay.
Some of them don't even believe Social Security will be around at all.
Yeah.
And so we're planning sometimes on a worst case scenario. What if it was all left to you on your back? And that's something that we need to kind of take into consideration.
Well, and I think that's why they're starting to have these conversations. And again, it's the third rail of politics. Nobody wants to touch this thing, right? Which is why, again, I'm shocked this person even said, hey, let's start looking at it. So kudos to them, because we do have to make some changes. Think about what happened in France over last summer, right? They pushed their pensioner program back from 62 to 64, and they had like 60 days worth of riots, right?
Oh, my God.
And it was from people 40 years away from retirement. So it's not a pleasant topic, but we are living longer, Jude, right? We've talked about this a million times. We're living longer. Less people are paying into the system. More people are taking out with boomers advancing. I think right now we're moving into the highest window to around 13,000 boomers a day are retiring or eligible to retire for like the next 6 to 9 months and going into 2025. So they have to do something because it is suffering. What I found interesting about this conversation, Jude, is that I thought it wouldn't even get near your and I's age. Okay. I thought when they started talking about this, it would be if you're born after 1980, or something like that. But in this first conversation piece, they're saying basically people born after 1972, they might move them to the 69. Well, I'm just within that window. I would now be in that 68 in a few months window because I was born in 71. So kind of interesting. It really does change your thought process for planning.
By the way, you look good.
And so do you.
But thank you, sir. The thing that I would mention too, I was shocked when this conversation came up because, and we don't talk about politics here on the podcast. We talk about government policy.
Sure.
Because we've got to have government policy in mind when doing some financial planning.
Right.
The thing that I was shocked about is when you look at the U.S. deficit, you have one camp that says we can cut our way out of this deficit because the government is spending far too much and they're inefficient.
Which is absolutely true.
Yes. You got another camp that says we can tax our way out of this deficit. There's some people that are not paying their fair share.
Right. Which is also true.
And neither side is 100% correct. It's going to take a combination of cuts. It's going to take some conversation around increasing revenue to the federal government. But no one is generally talking about the three biggest parts of the deficit, which is Medicare, Medicaid, defense spending, and what we're talking about today, Social Security.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. As a matter of fact, this conversation piece goes on to say, and we'll put a link into the show notes for people who want to check where that we got this from. But it says that even by making this change, even if this was to happen, and again, this is totally just speculate, they're just running numbers right now, that it would help the actuarial 75-year actuarial deficit by only 25%. Jude. Yeah. So making this change wouldn't even totally make the thing solvent, right? So it's going to take more than just this.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I don't care what political camp someone falls under.
Right.
Change has to happen. And the change is not going to feel good to everybody. There's going to have to be some amount of pain based on what we've been doing before, because we've been kicking the can down the road for so long.
Yeah.
We're going to have to experience some changes.
All right, so let me kind of phrase it like this. So we kind of set the table. We talked about a few of the pieces. Again, there's not a ton of information because they're just now kicking this around, but it's something that we're going to probably hear more about. And here's why I say this, Jude. Think about the changes we've seen, the Secure Act and the Secure Act 2.0, right? And then conversations like this where we're going to have to make changes to Social Security. So the information is being put out there. We have to do more on our personal end to get set for our own retirement. So if you are under the age of 55, you need to start being real proactive.
Yeah. I mean, we used to tell people when I first started in this industry to save about 10% of your income for retirement. But when I started, there was still the three-legged stool. There was, what you save, Social Security, and a pension.
Yeah.
Well, most people don't have access to a pension anymore. Yeah. And we're talking about reductions in Social Security. So
it's like a pogo stick now.
Yeah, exactly. That three-legged stool is looking like one leg is really still standing. And the most powerful thing about that, it's the leg that you control. It's the leg that you can have the most effect on, because it's all about how much money you can save. If you did nothing else, if you didn't have a financial advisor, I want you to listen to us every time we come up. But if you did nothing else but save as much as you can, you'd set yourself up for success. Now, we can help make that success a little bit better by, some good financial planning, but saving is going to be a piece of that.
Well, and so, when we had David Walker on, not long ago, he's like, look, people have got to start living within their means more. We talked about the fact that I think I just saw some numbers were $17 billion in credit card debt. I think is what is out there right now for Americans. And I get it. Look, inflation's been bad. We've been dealing with a rough economy the last couple of years. While the market has been okay with that, people, day-to-day life has been tough. So we have to find ways. And I think the point of this conversation this week was to kind of highlight that changes are coming, regardless of any administration. We're going to see multiple administrations as we go through, getting older, right? I mean, you and I are in our 50s. So, I mean, God willing, we're going to see a lot of stuff between now and our maybe 80s, So we've got to start putting more emphasis on being proactive. And so that's why it's important to talk with someone like yourself and find ways to do that. You mentioned that 10%. I hear people saying now that my daughter's 27. She should be saving 15 to 17%. And she's thinking, I don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't even know how to be able to afford to do that. Right.
Yeah. Life has definitely changed. And, one more note on the Social Security aspect, there's over 500 different combinations of claiming strategies for Social Security.
Wow.
So, we talked about, hey, the most important thing you can do is save. But I think in addition to that, you really need to talk to a professional that understands Social Security, because doing the wrong combinations between yourself and your spouse, you could be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table by not claiming the right strategy based on your situation.
That's a great point.
If you're going to pay into Social Security, might as well maximize it as much as you can.
And that's a great point, considering if this does, something at some point, this is coming down the pike. Whether that happens with this particular conversation, this particular proposal for examination that they're doing, or later, they're going to raise it. I don't think there's any way around it. They're going to have to raise it, right? And what age demographic gets affected by it? Well, more than likely, probably under 50, certainly under 45. And that strategy of saying, okay, the higher earner, maximizing that thing while they're working to full retirement age, whatever number that is, needs to probably be a bigger focus now. And then if you have to kind of access that person that made less, turning that on early, well, then that's not as bad, right? Because then when you pass on, then that higher number then goes to your spouse, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things we talk about so much in our planning is which particular strategy works best for you. Some people can afford to have that higher earning spouse wait till 70, but some people are like, look, I need every dollar I can to contribute to my retirement right now when I'm ready to retire. And so, we can do the math. At the end of the day, it's about figuring out the math and the right strategy and customizing it to your particular situation.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, folks, look, the writing's on the wall between the Secure Act 1.0, 2.0, the national deficit that we have, the debt that we owe, changes, coming to Social Security, amount of workers, all that stuff, right? The writing is on the wall. You've got to get more proactive about your own financial situation and financial strategy. The days of putting your head in the sand or saying, hey, my parents didn't do a lot of planning and it worked out for them, that's over, right? You've got to be more proactive, Jude. So any final thoughts from you as we wrap up this week?
Yes, I just want to say, look, this is a lot of information, and we don't tell you this to make you depressed.
No,
we actually tell you so that you have the choice and the opportunity to be proactive. And if you're proactive, we can help you get to your retirement goals.
Yeah. You just got to do something for yourself, right? So reach out to Jude, reach out to a financial professional. Doesn't matter who you talk to. Make sure you talk to a qualified professional. If you need some help, of course, Jude and his team are here to help. You can find all the information in the show note descriptions here. Visit them online. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can check out their tax bomb website. Lots of stuff you can do, lots of educational pieces and information, but take some action for yourself. You want a little satisfaction, got to take a little action. So don't forget to hit subscribe on Apple or Spotify or YouTube. That way you catch new episodes of the Roth Guy. And of course, if you need some help, again, check the show description links for how to get in contact with Jude and his team. My friend, thank you very much. Have yourself a great holiday, and we'll see you guys on a future episode. Yeah, man. And same to your wife as well.
Oh, thank you, brother. Take care.
We'll see you next time here on The Roth Guy with Jude Wilson.
Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Centrus Financial Strategies and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through Centrus Financial Strategies are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.